Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 46 of the Next Generation of Superstars. Very grateful and fortunate to have Sam Green here, who is originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. She's the founder of NIL with Sam Green, and she's been in the sports space for almost a decade. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about how you kind of got started with, you were a dancer in the NBA, you have a passion for sports. How did you really start your journey in sports?
Yeah, like you said, I just kind of was always around it. I grew up dancing competitively, and then I danced in college and I danced in the NBA. While I was in the NBA, I realized, there's not really much of a career here with dancing unless I wanted to go, pursue that professionally as like a backup dancer or something like that. So I was actually interviewed by like a media company, and that kind of sparked my interest. So kind of switched sides of the sports industry, and I really always just admired athletes because I knew really what it took to be one. I was a dancer, so yes, that came with, preparing on an athletic side of dance, but even further, these football players, these basketball players, like really learning what it took to become an athlete blew my mind. So I just always had an interest within sports, and just it was time to kind of hang it up for myself. Didn't want to do the work to become a professional dancer, so instead just switched to the other side.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And I know you have a lot of experience, with video editing, social media management, really content creation. And this creator economy is blowing up. What is your, take on everything with the creator economy and how athletes right now, as a student athlete, can go about creating their own content and really putting it out there to build their brand?
It's the future. It's just the truth. I think we're just getting started, especially even with NIL specifically. A lot of people are like, oh, what's the future going to look like? Even with content creation, where's it going? And I think something that people are actually like neglecting is this younger generation that hasn't even been brought up yet, that grew up on YouTube. I call it the YouTube generation. I mean, they've been consuming content since probably literally, I don't know, they were in diapers, like 2 years old. There's kids sitting there with iPads. They know how to navigate phones. So I think this is just the beginning. It is just the start. So it's, even though people feel like sometimes it's too late to get started, especially as an athlete, they feel like, social media platforms are crowded or there's no room or space for them. It's not the truth at all. It's the perfect time to get started. It's only going to get bigger. So the best way to get started really is just to tap into what interests you. I've launched a million different brands, and I really was passionate about finding what I cared to actually create. I've started brands and deleted them because it just wasn't my true passion. I felt like I was posting what maybe the algorithm wanted or maybe what I thought other viewers would want to see, but now I finally found my lane of creating what it is that I want. So for athletes getting started, that's the number one thing I recommend. Like, really sit down with yourself. What could you post? What can you sit down, hit record, talk about for 10 minutes and do that? Not just for a month, but for 10 years without getting burnt out or getting tired of it, and actually waking up. Not every day is going to be exciting to create content. There's days where I have to drag myself out of bed just to do it. But, what is it that you could see yourself building on, and go for it?
Absolutely. And I think just the act of getting started is so critical that, not everyone realizes, right? If you just get started, if you start that podcast, that newsletter, posting videos, writing about, stuff that interests you, what is your take on video content compared to picture content and all the other stuff out there? And I think video is the future, but what do you think of, athletes using their highlights and different stuff like that and really posting video content out there on their platforms?
Yes, so I get on all my athletes that I work with because they love their team media pictures, which is great. They love their sports pictures. I get it. It's cool. I do want to see it, but, in order to really build a brand and engage with your audience, there has to be video content out there. We want to hear you speak. We want to hear your voice. We want to see what your life looks like. And to be honest, it just performs better. Video content performs better, so why would you not be tapping into that? As far as pictures go, what I've noticed that really works, and a way that you're able to still really engage and connect with your audience through still images, is through the caption. A lot of athletes love to just throw an emoji up to kind of like keep the cool factor, but the ones that actually utilize the written format of a caption to kind of express either a personal story, a personal experience, or maybe even what's going on in the picture, actually still performs well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's so important to understand that, like, there's all these different strategies and tactics, but it all goes in hand, right? They're all in sync. It's like, if you're going to post that video, have a caption that aligns with it, and really understand what's that message you're trying to portray and get across. What has been your experience in working with athletes so far, with content creation? Like, how has that transpired into, you building their brands and helping them, building their brands? What has that experience been like?
It's been awesome. So when I got into all of this, so I was a video editor at ESPN. I left because I felt like I wanted to tell athletes stories. Then I started a YouTube channel interviewing professional athletes behind the scenes. Then I kind of went and worked at a gym where I helped these athletes create the content and land content for or land brand partnerships. And so I did it at a professional level, and then the NIL launched. And so I was like, wow, this is my dream industry. Literally couldn't have been any more perfect. So I've truly enjoyed every step of the way. My experience has been kind of all over the map. I work with athletes who really are like for the first time reserving the Instagram handle, all the way to athletes who have more followers, than me. I
Yep.
think that the more time I spend in this space, I'm just realizing how eager these athletes really are. They are starting to see the opportunity in front of them, which is great. And a lot of them are, the baseline is raising. So when I first started, especially with professional athletes, like they kind of didn't know even the first thing. Like they didn't even know what app to download to edit a video. The baseline of knowledge is starting to like up every single year because these athletes are just getting more experience. So honestly, every single day my job gets more fun because now I'm able to get more in depth with these athletes of really like, okay, great, you have this, but how can we take it even further? How can we advance this? How can we turn this into now a business? So every day is kind of something different, but I've definitely enjoyed truly every step.
It's incredible. It's incredible, and congrats so far on all the accomplishments that you've had.
Thank you.
And dating back to just a couple years ago, NIL got legitimized. Obviously it's exciting for everyone being in sports right now. But what was your initial reaction, and how did you, really react to when all that happened?
I literally, it might sound selfish, but I was like, is this my dream? Like, did this really just happen? Like, this happened for me. Like, this is it. Like, this is my industry. I just bounced around the sports industry trying to, like, I just wanted to do something that I was super passionate about. And I wanted to find something that I could see myself really doing for like 30 years, right? And I couldn't find it. And then the NIL passed, and I was like, oh my God, seriously, every single one of my passions just turned into one industry, and it's brand freaking new. Like, people pray for that to happen to them,
Yep.
like, and it was like an answered prayer that I didn't know I was praying for almost. Like, I just was trying to navigate and find my way. I've always been like super career driven, like even since high school. Like, I quit dance and, so that I could enter all like the business clubs and entrepreneurship and this and that. So like a career has always driven me that once the perfect industry popped up where it was a mix of working with athletes like I always have, video editing and content creation, which I've always done, and now I can educate the athletes like I have been on my own, all in one industry. And I'm at the very, like, I'm starting day one, just like the industry is, like, this is sick. So, again, it just kind of felt like it was for me.
I love that. No, it's so true, and I can relate to that. Just being entrepreneurial, loving sports, wanting to always get into the industry, but didn't know how, and that's why it feels we have so much synergy. I love helping student athletes in the sports technology realm. What really fuels you? Obviously content creation. There's always ups and downs in anything you do. What fuels you the most? And what would you say is kind of like your big why or vision that you have in everything that you do?
When I work with an athlete and they have no idea really where to start as far as like what kind of content, how do I even build this out? I want to build a brand. And then I see them genuinely take action on the plan that we implemented. Like, for example, I just helped a women's basketball player for Kentucky. Yesterday, she had zero reels, none. And we took a 30-minute call, sat down, mapped out everything that she was genuinely passionate about. She wanted to push her faith, like, and, promote her faith on her platform. And we curated a bunch of ideas of how she could do that to promote her platform. And she did. And it, everyone took to it. There was thousands of comments. It, kind of blew up right away. And it's just like so rewarding to be able to help the athlete kind of achieve their dream. One other example I have is I had an athlete who said, I want to be a motivational speaker, and nowhere on their feed could I ever tell that that's what they wanted to do post-graduation. we built out a whole plan on how to utilize her platform as a student athlete to be able to one day when she graduates walk away and do that full time. And the call of Sam, I got it, I got my first gig, like a high school booked me, I got to, like, I have goosebumps right now, just like there's 30 girls, I got to go talk to them, it was the best day of my life, I love doing this. And just so that side, like the helping an athlete utilize social media and content creation to achieve something bigger that's going to outlive their playing career, to help them really build that business, or that passion project, or use their voice and tell that story that they've been wanting to tell and they just didn't know how.
Absolutely. And that's priceless, right? That's the type of moments that, we live for, right? And actually making that impact on that person. And, I think there's so much going on in sports today. Obviously, technology is playing a huge part in it. The softwares like CapCut, Photoshop, other Canva, other stuff out there. How do you see technology not solving the problem, but assisting in athletes as they build their brand?
Oh, it's game changing. Just from even when I started creating content, I used to use little apps called like In Stories or Mojo, and they were video templates, and people were only using them for Instagram stories. But I used to combine them to turn them into like Instagram Reels and TikToks, and now that's a thing now. Like now there's apps all over the place just for those templates. And so the beauty in it is it's allowing people to launch brands, or create content that would have never even known how to begin. And I think that's important. This should be accessible to everybody. Like creating content should be easy enough for everybody because everyone has a story. Everyone has something that makes them unique and different that, back in the day, seriously, I mean, I'm only 27, but saying like back in the day, even when I was at ESPN, like it wasn't touchable. It wasn't a thing. Instagram was a photo sharing only app for a reason because that's all people knew how to do. So I think, a lot of people get scared that technology are going to replace jobs in this industry and stuff like that. But on the other hand, like it's helping people launch things that would have never been created in the first place.
Yeah, no, you're so spot on, and I think that's what's so incredible about what's going on is that it's allowing that accessibility. It's the instant content creation. It's allowing anyone that has just never found a way to start to actually start. And now we're seeing like so much with this creator economy, like we talked about earlier. We talked about interests, passions, unlocking that of that athlete and what they really care about. What is your advice or tips for just athletes right now if they wanted to build that strong foundation and structure with their brand that's going to benefit them after their playing days? How much pieces of content, how many days you have to post in a row? Like, what are the tips of advice that you would have that helps that athlete really kind of jumpstart that brand?
First, I really tell athletes to determine your goal. Is your goal to turn this into a business? I'm working with the Meta Empowerment Program, and I had an athlete, want to genuinely just walk away, not go viral, just wanting to launch a business. So that's one approach. Or do you want to be a full-time creator? Do you want to just go viral and have 1 million followers? There's kind of two different paths. Now, yeah, there's a lot that kind of navigate in the middle. You can have your business account go viral or whatever it may be. But I think it depends on your goal. So if you want to build a business, you really got to worry about your audience turning into a community. So it's DMing, everyone that follows you. It's creating an Instagram broadcast channel so that you can really connect with that audience on a deeper level. It's creating Instagram subscriptions so that you can start making money and monetizing off of your content. It's going hard on your Instagram stories and adding in all the features like polls and quizzes so that your audience can engage back with you, so that one day when you launch that business, your audience, your community is now willing and able to purchase from you, and they want to because you reeled them in and you kind of gave them substance X amount of years throughout your career that now they're happy to follow you along. If you want to go viral like Olivia Dunn, put out as much content as you possibly can. I mean, you should be posting 5 times a day. Gary Vee says it. Every single media person knows if you want to go viral, the more content, the better. It's not about your feed or your aesthetic looking perfect. It's about genuinely hitting the trends. It's about the viral. It's about the trending audios. It's about the transitions. It's about the get ready with me's. It's about the day in the life. It's about the vlogs. It's about all of the things that hit that algorithm. So that's how I encourage, or at least try and tell my athletes to look at it, is let's focus on your goal. Because also if you're trying to run a business instead, there's a lot on the back end. I want to be both. I want to run a business and I want to be a creator, but because of my business, 5 days out of the week, I got to run a business behind the scenes. I got to keep up with my books. I gotta, provide value. I gotta educate myself. I gotta edit my own content. Like there's more to a business than, just creating the content. So, and naturally, like Livy Dunn is a business now because she's a creator. So it's not like one or the other. I just think,
Right.
it's good to kind of like set your goals before you really attack it.
Could have said it better. And I think the goal process, and it goes hand in hand in sports, right? If you're training in your respective sport, you obviously have goals to strive for, and those coaches and staff and everyone helps you do that. So you being that content coach for NIL is really paving that path for this next generation of athletes. And we'll kind of wrap up here in the last couple questions, Sam, and appreciate all the knowledge you've dropped so far. What's your big vision right now in building NIL with Sam Green? Where do you see in the next 5 to 10 years with the foundation you're building now?
Yeah, I expect to be at every single university running content workshops. There's always going to be a freshman class that needs to get started in creating a brand and, landing NIL deals. And honestly, I'm that person. I'm the one teaching the how. A lot of people come in and talk at athletes saying, build your brand, but I'm actually physically showing you guys how. I bring in a product deal. I teach you guys how to shoot the content. I teach you how to edit it. I teach you how to optimize it on your social media platform, and then I teach you how to land the deals. So I expect to be at every single university. I expect to help as many athletes as I possibly can. And then from there, I scale it. I, hire people underneath me, teach my own curriculum, and, keep this thing going. So
That's incredible. And we're here to support you at Verse any way we can. And I love that vision that
appreciate
you
it.
have in helping those athletes because it makes a difference. And I think that's what you're starting to see with the athletes you've helped. We do this on every podcast as we wrap up. What would be 3 pieces of advice that you have for the next generation, whether it's advice you give yourself or the people below you and the kids coming up? What are 3 pieces of advice that you have for them?
Don't wait. You don't have to wait till you get to college to start creating content. I mean, the earlier the better. A lot of people say just get started, just hit record, but it really is the truth. You can change your entire life just by hitting record and having the nerve to put yourself out there. Number two would be like do what you want. Like I wasted so many years doing what I thought other people wanted, what other people wanted to see, what content they liked, what would appease the algorithm, and I just got burnt out and fizzed out and honestly wasted years. If I would have just started with what does Sam want to do and what does Sam want to put out there, I could only imagine where I would be. So definitely just do what you want, not what you think other people want. And then number 3 would be like learn early on. Like I try to accumulate a lot of skills early on and it really helped me. Like I self-taught myself editing at the age of 13, just sitting down, trying out different apps. I joined different clubs to try and accumulate different knowledge. I switched majors. I did a lot of homework on trying to navigate what it is that I wanted to do. And so I think trying to learn new skills, especially as an athlete. A lot of athletes, they're in their bubble of training, right? It can be easy to do to just only lock in on that. My husband plays professional baseball and he says all the time he wishes he would have done other things as a kid just to kind of open up his brain and his mind to kind of like navigate the world because one day your sport will end, not everybody makes it to the professional level. So you don't want to be the athlete that's stuck like midlife crisis at 22 because you never really opened up your brain or your mind to what could potentially be next.
Yeah. Yeah, all great pieces of advice. And just to recap that, Sam, you said, number 1, don't wait. It's never too late. Always get started when you can. 2, do what you want. I think that's huge. Really follow your passions, your heart, and what it tells you. And you said 3, learn early on. And I think always being a sponge, always being a student of the game. You see all the successful people, that's what they preach, right? And I think that's huge to take that into account and actually understand that and apply it. So thank you so much, Sam Green, for being on our podcast. Make
Thank
sure
you,
you
Grant.
follow her all over social media. And if you are a student athlete, please reach out to Sam and she will
Hit me
help
up.
you start with your brand.
I don't charge athletes either. I charge universities. So definitely hit me up, athletes. I won't charge you. I'm really good at DMing you back too. So hit me up for sure. Thank you, Grant, for
Love
having
that.
me.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.